Hello, my lovelies. I'm Ginny O, the author with no last name, and today I want to talk about the WGA Writers' Strike and what's been going on as they are entering the third month of the strike. And it has fallen out of news cycles. But I mean, come on, have you seen our news cycle lately? So, for those of you who are new and who don't know what I'm talking about, the WGA is the Writers Guild of America, and every 3 years they can renegotiate their contract with the Alliance of Motion Pictures and Television Producers, which sounds as ominous as it is. And their contract was up, at the beginning of May. End of April, beginning of May. And they had asked for certain conditions to be met in negotiations to renew the contract, and they weren't met, and they authorized a strike, which is what they are doing now. So the WGA represents the screen and film writers in the United States of America. This is your television shows, your drama television shows, not your reality shows, your prestige shows, your film, and things like late night television comedy. It does not include traditional authors. It does, unless they're writing in television, which a few traditional authors do. The biggest known names would be George R.R. Martin and Neil Gaiman. This also does not cover newspaper editors. That's actually part of SAG-AFTRA. And it doesn't cover, so it doesn't cover newsrooms. That's why we still have the news still going, because they're not covered by the Writers Guild of America. It's just television and film screenwriters. And there's about 12,000 of them, and their demand is they want about 3% of the profits overall. And that's not a lot. But it's not the only demand they had, because they are also demanding full writers' rooms in order to continue for there to be a writing profession. They need to be able not to be involved in mini rooms, which many of these big corporations want to hire people for 6 weeks, have them outline or do a really rough draft of a script and, kick them off to the next project. So they're not there to learn how to run a show, how to keep, the script together. They're not learning how to be script coordinators. They're not learning how to be showrunners, because they're only there for 6 weeks in a little room writing out a script for a tenth of the cost that they normally would, and have to move on to the next project. So they can't care as much as they're not, they can't be as excited as they would if they were in a writing room with 22 people with a 22 episode season, that was going on for years, especially if it's a serial like Bones or Castle or Supernatural, that type of thing, where your writer's room becomes more like a family, and you're learning a lot from everybody around you, from the showrunner to the mid-level writers to the very beginning writers. And they're also very adamant against the use of artificial intelligence to write scripts. Yes, there is a script GPT, and studios wanted to use it to poke a button, have it write a script, and then give it to a writer to edit, and because they think this will be cheaper in the long run. CEOs and CEOs and marketing departments don't care about the quality of television writing. They care about profits. And while profits aren't a dirty word, my neighbors have motorcycles. Well, profits aren't a dirty word. The concept that, you are going to have a mediocre script bring you lots of television viewers and, have it continue to bring in lots of profits is kind of a ridiculous notion. But the CEOs, they think this is magic. They think that this should, it's the next wave of technology. They've been convinced by the tech bros that this is the next big thing, like NFTs and cryptocurrency. And and scriptwriters are like, no, we do not want a robot taking our jobs. And B, who is going to be credited through these programs? Because you don't know where the words came from, even though it's a language learning model. It is still repeating back things that is already in its data set, like I went over last week. So they are worried about copyright issues. All right, so it has been roughly 60 days. This is normal. The last one in 1987, I believe, went for over 90 days. There have been strikes that have gone longer than 90 days, and it is possible that this one will go longer than 90 days. And as far as I'm aware, since the strike began to where we are now, the negotiators, from the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television, have actually not talked to the negotiators with the WGA. So what has been going on elsewhere where the negotiators of the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television aren't talking to the WGA? Who are they talking to instead? Because they are talking to other people. So also this year, coming up were the contracts of the Directors Guild of America and SAG-AFTRA, or the Screen Actors Guild. And I don't remember what AFTRA stands for, but AFTRA is a very large organization which combined with SAG years ago to create a stronger union to help negotiate better. So the Directors Guild of America is not set up quite the same way as the Writers Guild or SAG-AFTRA. So it is a lot more difficult for the directors to go on strike than it is for, say, WGA or SAG-AFTRA, unless the director is also part of the WGA, which does happen. You do have directors who write screenplays. So the Alliance of Motion Pictures and Television producers are doing what they normally do, is they are trying to play the Directors Guild of America, SAG-AFTRA, and the WGA off against each other to say that, if they can get deals with the Directors Guild and SAG-AFTRA, then it's the WGA who are being unreasonable, not the Alliance of Motion Pictures and Television producers. And you have to understand that the AMTP, they aren't even, direct representatives of the CEOs. My understanding right now is the biggest problem, the biggest stumbling block with the CEOs currently is the CEO of Netflix. They have not called for, any type of boycott or ban yet, especially since things like Sandman are coming out on Netflix, and they still, the screenwriter's like, we want you to support Neil. We love Neil, type of thing. We want, but Netflix is making a lot of other choices which are causing consumers to be like, I don't want to use your service anymore. So that can be kind of also being wrapped up in this whole WGA fight too. It's that Netflix is refusing to talk and and refusing to compromise at all. And Netflix is also making, as a company, some really bad choices, and to to do so. And they're not the only part of the, the Alliance of Motion Pictures and Television Producers that are doing this. For instance, Disney Plus and Hulu have been rolled together now into one service. When that happened, Disney, quote unquote, vaulted, which Disney likes to do, a lot of television shows and movies that they had on both services, including the first season of the Willow television series, which had been out for less than 6 months. So now people cannot watch them, and the actors and writers and directors and everybody who worked on that show can't get money from it. They can't get the residuals from a show that's not on streaming anymore, what pathetic residuals they were getting. So nobody is being paid when Disney takes something down off of streaming. And the whole point of streaming was to, to be that just more convenient than piracy. Just, or HBO Max, okay? That was HBO's streaming service. HBO decided to rebrand their entire thing into Max. And when they did this, they took down television shows and films that were up on HBO Max. And they also, which got them some severe pushback from the Directors Guild of America as well, they also put the directors and screenplay writers under a singular umbrella term of creators, which went against both the WGA contract and the DGA contract. So they both issued a strong letter, and Max had to change it. But the reason why HBO Max went to just Max is because the contracts written for HBO Max were very specifically written to be HBO. So if they go to Max, they no longer feel they are contractually obligated to pay their residuals. These are people who are willing to take down 3 million, $5 million worth of IP and products, to save $2 million and end up losing 20 million or more in market share because people want those products. They wanted to be able to go back and rewatch those products, which is psychologically good for us as human beings because it's comforting. We like our comfort food. But if those products aren't there, we can't go rewatch them, so we can't feel psychologically comforted. And the actors and writers can't get their money. They aren't being paid residuals, so they're not being able to afford rent. They have to work 2 or 3 other jobs. They're shuffling from project to project without any type of time to really dig into the project or to relax, or sometimes they're going 5 to 6 months without a writing job. So this is great for the CEOs who are getting $50 million a year instead of taking that $50 million, in extra profits and using it to pay their people and raising everybody up like trickle down was supposed to do. Sorry, I'm not a fan of Reaganomics. This Alliance of Motion Picture and Television has been talking to the Directors Guild, and they've also been talking to SAG-AFTRA. Now, there was a lot of agitation on Twitter from the directors not to sign the deal. I guess it wasn't a great deal. I didn't get to see it, but there was a lot of directors, specifically directors who were also writers, who wanted to stand in solidarity with the Writer Guild of America and hold out for a better deal. However, 87% of the Directors Guild voted to go through with the deal. But, the Writers Guild is like, the Director Guild folds all the time. It's very rare for us to be on the same page. Now, the same time that the Directors Guild contract was coming up, so was the contract with SAG-AFTRA. Now, SAG-AFTRA like I said, represents more than just the Screen Actors Guild. Just more than your actors and actresses. There's like 160,000 people in SAG-AFTRA. This also includes newsroom editors. This also includes things like your studio teachers. This also includes some animators, like some of the behind-the-scenes stuff. It's not precisely, AFTRA is not precisely the Teamster union, but the Teamsters and some of what AFTRA does would overlap if you were like studying film, okay? So SAG-AFTRA's contract negotiations were supposed to stop on Friday, June 30th at midnight. And at 7 p.m., both SAG-AFTRA and AMTP came out and said they are extending the negotiations to July 12th. So there might be a little tiny update for me post July 12 over what's happening with SAG-AFTRA and how this is affecting the WGA strike, okay? But a lot of actors, and I do mean a lot of actors, have already come out, both in a letter which had over 1,000 signatures of high-profile actors on it, to say they support the WGA and they really do want to go on strike as SAG-AFTRA, or they're already showing up at WGA picket lines. So, you know, SAG-AFTRA and the WGA are stand pretty strong together, because SAG-AFTRA knows that without the writers, they have nothing to do. Things like there are things like Ryan Reynolds, who is shooting Deadpool, or was shooting Deadpool 3 or 4. I don't remember what number we're on. He was not allowed to improvise on set because that's considered quote-unquote writing. So that's, you know, you're asking Ryan Reynolds not to improvise on set. Oh my god, poor guy. You know, that has to be so tough on him. But, you know, I did see an article where the WGA, the strikers, have managed to coordinate with the Teamsters so well. You know, people going, I see these little white vans, they're going to come here and try to film today. And so the WGA runs over, seeing a film, you know, or film for television, and they'll set up a picket line, and the Teamsters are really strong. Now, the Teamsters are like your prop and your lighting people, and electricians and stuff like that. The people who are behind the scenes, carrying cameras and stuff like you have to have these Teamsters, these Teamster laborers to set up your whole production. And the Teamsters refuse to cross picket lines, even though it's hurting the Teamsters more than it is, say, hurting the WGA people. However, I have seen where the Teamsters have set up a kind of like a donation drive or a fund to help the Teamsters with, you know, food and rent and stuff while the WGA strike is going. Go Teamsters Union. The WGA has a couple different donation drives going, so you can help the WGA people. Go to Tumblr, look for WGA. Just keep scrolling. A link will show up eventually to where you can donate to help the Teamsters and the WGA people. A lot of what has been going on in the past 2 months are them trying to keep people interested in the strike. So taking pictures of funny signs, having fun-themed picket lines. You know, do you love Bones? Do you love Supernatural? Do you love Our Flag Means Death? Come to this picket line, dress up, you know, you'll be able to meet the writers there, or whatever. So just things to keep the people, especially the locals in LA, interested and involved, I guess, if you want to call it that. So they've, like I said, they managed to shut down all the film sets in LA. They are having days. There was June 14th was an International Day of Solidarity where writers from all over the world went on strike to support the Writers Guild of America. When Netflix turned to the writers in South Korea and said, hey, we'd like you to take up some of the writing slack from the, that the Americans aren't doing, the writers in South Korea went, haha, no, and went on strike. South Korea is entertainment industry is notoriously bad. There's an extreme amount of exploitation in that industry over there. So, good for the South Korean writers for standing up for yourselves. Go you, especially against Netflix. I mean, I know that's got to be tough because Netflix is becoming one of these big studios all over the world type of thing. They're putting up media on Netflix from Asia, from Europe, from everywhere. So, good on them to stand up and try to get some more money out of Netflix. Everybody needs to be trying to get more money out of Netflix. So it's still basically at the wait and see point where we're waiting to see what is going to happen between SAG-AFTRA and the Alliance of Motion Pictures and Television Producers, because if SAG-AFTRA goes on strike, then basically all of Hollywood is shut down, and I'm not even sure how much of your news services are going to remain in place because of the editors and such being part of SAG-AFTRA. So this could get kind of chaotic, but it's supposed to be disruptive and chaotic and keeping the people from making the money. WGA is only, like I said, asking for 3% of the overall profits from all these different television producers and film producers. This is Disney, this is Netflix, this is Paramount, this is, Universal. These huge companies are making billions and billions of dollars in profit, and writers are making less than minimum wage. So, and they're not getting the opportunities that they need to advance their careers and become showrunners themselves. And the younger writers don't even know any different, so they're not realizing they're supposed to be having these career advancements. So, go WGA, be strong. They're just gonna keep going until they really, there's nothing they can do until the Alliance of Motion Pictures and Television Producers actually is willing to come to the table and say things, that they aren't willing to use AI, that they're willing to increase wages, that they're willing to expand the size of the writers' room, and things like that. The Writers Guild is going, this is nothing. The whole industry has trained them not to have work to 5 to 6 months at a time. So, they are saying that it could go on to September or October, and by then your fall season's more than done. There's not going to be a fall season of new television unless the scripts were written and locked in before May 31st. There's not your television series, your spring, it's not, spring season's going to be in severe trouble by that point too. So, if not the summer season. So so if they wanted to make money, the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers really want to continue to make money, they need to come back to the table. But they're being stubborn, and they're like, no, it's the writers' fault. It's the writers, the 12,000 people who aren't making the $50 million a year that these CEOs are, who are at fault. Sure. That makes a lot of sense. And a lot of the news that you can see out there is going to be And there's like headlines I saw that they're just pure propaganda. The labor unions aren't going to destroy the writing profession for motion pictures and television. It's it's you know, it is most definitely the greedy CEOs and who are being convinced by the tech bros that, in their mindless pursuit of short money, of products that they know already sell and instead of something new, that are going to destroy the industry, not the writers. The writers know what they need to write, and they know what the young people coming up behind them need for a healthy industry, and they're just trying to protect their industry, alright? So, quite possibly, after the 12th, I'll have another short video up. I'll try to keep it a lot shorter than this one, to talk about what's going on, real short update. Did SAG-AFTRA go on strike? Are they in lockstep in solidarity? Actors showing up. Actors have a lot of energy and a lot of imagination. It's the last thing you want out there on the picket lines. And will Hollywood shut down? I mean, come on, they're trying to get scabs already, and they're trying to get podcasters in it, and it's just like, no, no. So take care of yourselves, my lovelies. Stay safe out there. Bless and union strong.